this is Animat, and welcome back to the Muppet Vlog. Now this time we're going to be looking into the 9th episode of Season 4 of The Muppet Show, which features Beverly Sills. Now, for those of you who don't really know who Beverly Sills is, well that's probably because you don't really know much about opera. Because she is actually one of the most famous American operatic sopranos, and her credits go far and wide in the operatic world, with many different performances that she appeared in, including Manon, La Fille du Régiment, Les Contes d'Hoffmann, The Barber of Seville, La Traviata, and Roberto de Verneur. But after she retired from singing, she decided to be the big head honcho of American opera, where she became the general manager of New York City Opera. Then later on, she became the chairwoman of the Lincoln Center and also the Metropolitan Opera. And if we go into the episode, I'm gonna be very honest. This is actually... Hold on a sec. Okay, there we go. I don't know, I'm just dealing with pesky advertisements. You guys know how it is. You're on the internet. Anyways, going back to what I was talking about. Now, the thing is, with the episode that she appeared in, it was surprisingly really good. And I would not really expect that from an episode that would feature an opera singer, that they would actually turn out something that is fantastic. And probably the biggest highlight for me, I gotta say right now, is the opening number. And this is actually where they decided to perform Take 10 Terrific Girls. And the way that they set it up is that Statler and Waldorf, as usual, they would start out by heckling and criticizing. And then they pretty much decided, you know what, it's their moment to go steal the show. And that's when they go and play Take 10 Girls. And they turn it into this entire Muppet-style burlesque show with Statler and Waldorf coming in to also perform with them. And it really came out spectacular. And probably one of the big highlights of just Statler and Waldorf in general. Like, where the last big highlight was when they sang... like, When I Was, you know, like, it was more heartfelt. You see this new, like a bit sad, but also a heartwarming side of Statler and Waldorf. But with this one, you really do see their entertainment side. Like, you definitely do see how, like, kind of their perspective on show business and their perspective on what they feel like is true entertainment. And it really was fantastic, and probably the best thing that ever came out of this episode, and it really started off with a blast. Not to say that, like, what would come in would be a lot lower than, like, what we got right at the beginning. It's just that, like, it really started off with a bang, and it really progressed well into something that was really enjoyable. And the one thing that I would like to point out, another, like, okay, yeah, there is the opening number that's just phenomenal, but what would follow afterwards, there's actually no story in this episode. It's a lot more of the variety style, where it's more about the sketches individually than it is like an entire linear episode that would have a storyline. And I feel like in this one, it actually really works a lot better than it did last time. If you recall, in the last episode with Arlo Guthrie, my biggest issue with it is that it looked like they want to do a story, they want to have some kind of theme into it, but it just doesn't connect well. It's like they promised you that this would be this kind of episode, but they don't really deliver it. It just turned out to be more of a variety style episode, and it's not really what you would expect, especially with how they set everything up and how everything was pretty much themed. But it's only, like, they only get into it from, like, the beginning and the end and a few places here and there, and it doesn't make much sense. In here, however, in this episode in particular, there is no story, there is no theming, there's nothing like that whatsoever. There isn't anything where, like, some parts would connect all together, with the exception of prepping up for the grand finale. But in here, the thing is that they don't even try. They're not gonna be promising you anything that there isn't going to be a full-on linear story that's going to happen throughout the episode. There isn't any theming that they want to go specifically. Like, this isn't an entire operatic episode altogether just to commemorate Beverly Sills on stage. This is just to commemorate the little skits that happen from time to time. And now that they put the focus back on that, it does make it enjoyable. Now you know what you're getting yourself into, and like you can pretty much embrace the fun that they deliver. And a lot of the numbers, they really do make it great. There was at one point when Kermit had to be off somewhere and Fozzie Bear had to be in charge of taking over the show a little bit, and he accidentally replaced, he accidentally thought that Beverly Sills was a well-known country singer, like the Queen of Nashville or something, and that's why he handed over Beverly Sills a number of When the Bloom is on the Stage, and she had to sing that opera style. Like, you got a little bit of that, like, chaotic sense that the show is really getting out of hand, but it's still fun either way. And even Beverly Sills herself delivered something that is actually quite enjoyable, and like, you could tell that she really does deliver it in the way, like, it's a lot of fun. And then you got another one. It's called the Muppera, apparently, and this is probably one of the weirdest things that ever came out of the Muppet Show, and probably some of the weirdest Muppets that you'll ever find, and that really is saying a lot. Now, the technique that they decided to do in terms of, like, executing this Muppet is nothing like you have ever seen in the Muppet Show. Like, normally they can do crazy Muppets, they can do really big Muppets, really small Muppets, what have you, but in this one, here's the way that they do it. Okay, now I'm going to do this a little trick here in the editing. Now I'm gonna go and hold on a sec there. I'm pretty much gonna go and put some eyes onto this. Yeah, okay, there we go. It might take a little bit more onto the editing, but hey, it'll prove my point. Yeah, you see this thing that I'm trying to do? That's basically what they did. This is literally the Fuzz Brothers. This is their way of puppetry. It's so weird. I mean, yeah, I've seen that happen from time to time. Like, sure, some people on the internet would do that. But in here, like, this is something you would never expect coming out of the Muppet Show. Where, like, you would just see, like, these Muppet eyes and a Muppet nose and suddenly, like, this realistic mouth trying to sing opera. And overall, it just came out so bizarre, honestly. It's honestly one of those moments that you wouldn't expect in this. Like, even though you have seen this technique done before, you didn't expect it to appear in here, specifically. That's mostly the big thing that kind of came out of it. It's like one of the weirdest moments that I've probably seen just by the technique of the puppetry they decided to choose and to go with, honestly. It's just crazy. And then you do get this little segment with Sam the Eagle. Apparently it's called Muppet University, where Sam would experiment like a water droplet from a microscope, and the little gag is just that you see like cells version, like little cells that represents like Kermit and Fozzie, and that's mostly the joke right there. And, you know, not as effective as some of the previous executions that they have done in this episode, but honestly, like, it's still cute, you know, it's still funny. And finally, they would end things off with Pigoletto, and this is the grand finale that the episode was kind of building up upon, where Beverly Sills would be singing opera with some pigs. Now, the funny thing is, with this one in particular, is that you would start things off with Beverly Sills singing opera, and then suddenly, all the other pigs would come in, but they honestly don't know their parts. They don't know what to sing, so they just sing whatever. And I think the key word that Kermit said when they were introducing the entire number of Pigoletto was that they're getting ready for this unrehearsed number, and it's literally unrehearsed, where like whenever like random pigs would come in, whether it be like just some extras or Miss Piggy, Link Hog Frog, and Dr. Strange Pork, like whenever they would suddenly appear, it would become a little bit different. Like somehow it's like a bit of a mix and match of like different operas, and sometimes like it's a little bit of a parody as well. Like they actually say English words to make it funny. So, yeah, I think this is honestly like a bit simultaneously an homage and also a parody to opera altogether with one of the biggest names in American opera. So I would say that overall with this episode, this is actually really, really good and probably a really pleasant surprise because I was not expecting some great moments that would come out of it. Okay, well, I was expecting a nice, fun episode from The Muppet Show, but I didn't expect it to be, like, this big, especially when they would have a special guest star that, like, honestly, when the special guest star you don't necessarily know about, you don't know what to expect that would come out of the episode. Sometimes they're not usually much of a highlight, but with this one, especially with Beverly Sills, this is actually a lot of fun. And even with the special guest star herself, she actually added into the enjoyment. Even though that there is no story, you could tell that this really does emphasize a lot of the fun, a lot of the zaniness, and, you know, like, it does have a little bit of that opera tribute right there, rather it be the really weird Fuzz Brothers, or even the Pigoletto finale. This is still a lot of fun, and it really does connect a bit to the special guest star. So overall, it is a really... Oh, and I cannot forget about the opening number. Probably one of the best openings in The Muppet Show, hands down. So overall, really fantastic episode, and a very surprising highlight to this. Like, probably a big surprising highlight of the season. So yeah, this is definitely one that just definitely check it out. It's actually a lot of fun. But anyways, that is pretty much it for this episode of the Muppet Vlog. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see if we are going to see more episodes that will really start off with a bang, as much as this episode did. But we will only know until next time. So see you later, dudes.